Welcome back, dear viewers. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International. And now it's time for our first topic of discussion in today's episode. And dear viewers, recently an international team of architects and scientists have observed thermal anomalies at the pyramids of Giza, and more light on this topic. We're most delighted to be joined by our prominent guest, Bassam Shammaa, and he's the historian and Egyptologist, to tell us more about this phenomenon. First of all, good morning, sir, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr.
Shammaa.
And let us first talk about the possible hypothesis that could come out of this research, and how could Egypt and Egyptians benefit out of these studies?
A great benefit, because now during this research of this kind of infrared thermography, that's what they call it. It's what is the meaning of thermal anomalies? This is high-tech devices. Those guys came from 4 places, from 4 countries, and they are in love with their work. They are highly into it, and they found out that due to some studies they made with their infrared and also with their thermal devices, heats that comes out, absorbed, exposed, kept, or released from stones. So this is how easily you can describe the whole matter.
Yes.
From there, you can know if the heat of that block, that certain block of stone, will give you a certain color on your screen.
Yes.
Now from that heat, you will know if there were cracks, if there were fissures, if there were any anomalies, any differences in temperature between one block and the other. And they found amazing is that most of the blocks, we're talking here about the Great Pyramid of Khufu, for example, and here is a good chance for us to say Khufu or Khufu. You can't say any of these, say Cheops, because I noticed yesterday, for example, there were some reports in English language in our media that they are calling him Cheops. Cheops is something we eat. It's called Cheops. Cheops is not the name of the king. So it's either Khufu, if you can do the Kha, or it's Cheops, if you can't, or Khufu, if you would like. There is nothing called Cheops. Like there is nothing called Mycenaris. It's called Mankaura. It's easy. Mankaura. Okay? Mycenaris, if you can't. So names are very important, because in ancient Egypt, names were very important. Those people depicted their names to live in the afterlife. So at least respecting them, we pronounce their name right.
Yes.
Going back to the anomalies, they found out that the differences in temperatures and in heat, you know, it will be cooling off and it will be heating up. Cooling off in the afternoons and in the mornings will be heated up in midday. So the losing of the heat and the gaining of the heat of those limestone blocks, which varies in weight between 2.5 tons to 12.5 tons each in the Great Pyramid of Khufu or Khufu, they found that the differences between them is between 0.1 and 0.5, which is half, degrees Celsius. Until they were researching and they were examining by thermography on the first raw on the level of the ground. So above the level of the ground, there will be the first raw of those blocks of stones which are adjacent to each other. And they found that there were 3 blocks out of the whole raw who's not doing the 0.1, 0.5 difference in heat with their centigrades.
So, Doctor, before we went on air, you handed out this diagram. If you can tell us more, what does it signify?
I'll show you something which looks like that, but that's a satellite. That's not related to these 2 days. This is what you can do dealing with thermal heat and thermography and the designs that you can get on your screen using satellite pictures. This is obviously a satellite photo of the plateau of Giza. And we notice how if you superimpose on it the money black lines, it will fit like gloves with the heating system of yellow colors and particles and so on and so forth. So we can easily see that the Great Pyramid is very visible, the second pyramid, the third pyramid, the 3 small pyramids, and that yellow spot right there, very small, very tiny, but very important. That small yellow spot right here is adjacent to the Sphinx of Giza. which means, so I sent to NASA, because that was my main interest in 1997. I told NASA, what is this yellow spot, please? So a whole report, see how they respect. So see how they respect. They don't know who's Bassam. In 1997, today I don't have any relation with NASA. But a gentleman who asked a question, so we should be concerned about the answer.
Respond promptly.
Respond properly with the head of the laboratory. The head of the whole organization sends you a paper that I put in my book, actually, because I was so proud, so happy. And he says in this, as a summary, that this yellow spot that you can see is a remaining of a block of stone which is carved either by nature or by human hand. Which means that this can be a remaining of a second Sphinx, adjacent or parallel, if you like, to the Sphinx of today. And from there, the idea of the second Sphinx. So why is this now? Because we can use these machinery that we have today on the plateau of Giza on finding other things as well under the ground. Thought with the pictures that I brought you, they will be very helpful. So they found 3 blocks of stones. Here they are. This is during the big convention while they were explaining this business of the 3 blocks. Those 3 blocks can change the history of the pyramid. These 3 blocks, they found out that they were, as a matter of fact, 6 degrees in heat Celsius. Which means that, let's take a look at the other picture, please. Which means that those 3 blocks are different than the whole raw above the ground level. And those 3 blocks is the anomaly that you are talking about. Or if you like, anomalies. So what's an anomaly? Anomaly is something which is different, which is exceptional than the normal and the ordinary of the whole collection of blocks of stones.
Yes.
So here is what you are talking about. You are talking about high-tech machinery using thermographies and using infrareds and using something else called the ACA, which is a very, very high-tech devices, theories and facts and scientific facts, and something else called the Ilmion. And Ilmion, they are going to use it. All of this is 2015. This is the best. So now I've got this machinery, now I can use it. So what is this telling us? Let's take a look at the other one. Now you are talking about what can we do? 6 degrees anomaly can be fissures, can be cracks, can be a passageway right behind, and that's the difference in the temperature. There can be a vacancy behind the 3 blocks. And yesterday I wrote void, emptiness, gap, void that fills gaps. So it's quite confusing because this is contradiction in terms, right? Void, how can something empty?
Fill in gaps.
Fill in a gap. But this can be titled like this. This kind of work, I can title it. Why? Because a void, which means there might be a certain vacancy behind those 3 blocks, which can fill gaps that we don't know about the Great Pyramid. Because there are gaps in the Great Pyramid that we don't know anything about.
Please, if you could repeat that again.
The emptiness behind the 3 blocks, if indeed there were emptiness, that will fill in our chapters of history.
Okay.
It's like a metaphor, if you like. So
but not physical.
Until if they proved 150% look how they are working now. So those machines. Second thing I would like to tell people about the machinery is that they are not big. These machineries are not huge machineries.
But
so they can
top of the line technology.
Oh, you name it. And this is what I like about it. I normally would criticize things like this.
Is this the equipment?
Yes, one of the equipments that they are working on. And the thermography, and using, as we said, 4 systems, one of which is the infrared thermography. Now, let's take a look at the other one. So, indeed, if there were vacancy behind the 3, what is this telling us? The Minister of normally I would criticize work like in Tutankhamun, for example. When they entered with reeves, they went in without masks, without gloves. Our minister entered without gloves, and they are breathing their head off.
Extremely unprofessional.
Of course, of course. So put some masks for God's sakes. Put on some gloves for God's sakes. Those flashes of the cameras are killing the colors all the way. So this I criticize. This I didn't. Because we are outside, There are no cables, there are no danger, and there are no breathing, if you like. They sometimes would need to touch the stone. That's something I'm against. But if it's for scientific reason, because they need to see how the temperature here and how the temperature there, if that is like a doctor trying to figure out what is wrong with you. The heating system is giving you different colors. This is something which is, this is not the real picture. This is obviously a picture which is made. You can see the small building on the right hand side. That is the drawing of, or the 3D drawing of the Solar Boat Museum. Because now they are producing to us 3D photos and 3D scenery. Now, he says that there is a passageway outside the pyramid leading to the place where the 3 blocks of the thermal anomalies, which means that this could be a passage inside the pyramid and went all the way outside the pyramid. So this is one theory. Second theory is, could this, and this is the most important, if this came up in headlines in the world, you will see. You can use it touristically big time. And it will rewrite chapters of history. If these 3 blocks are covering the genuine, original entrance of the Great Pyramid. That could be rewriting the whole history.
Why?
Why? Because the place that you enter from now, let's take a look at the coming picture. The place that you enter from now is Al Khalifa Al Ma'mun entrance. The one which is above is another destruction which happened for people to enter and for the researchers, and sometimes they wanted to enter to get, I don't know, the gold and treasures and so on and so forth. But the original entrance of the Great Pyramid is unknown till today as we speak. So indeed, if that passageway is leading to another passageway inside, now, how can we know? By more of the studies of the thermal anomalies, and we know if those 3 blocks right behind them, there will be vacancy. If it's a vacancy, it could be a room. It could be a room for papyri and for a statue of the king. It could be treasures. It could be funerary tools and equipments for the ancient Egyptians that they like to take to the afterlife, as usual, as we are acquainted with. Or it could be a passage leading to a place. Or the negative part, it could be a booby trap.
What does that mean?
A booby trap is
for whoever who tries to break in
like you see in the movies. So you enter in a tomb or in a building and a block of stone will come down on your head, a destruction of
Can that be possible?
It could be, yes, booby traps. Booby traps are well known in ancient Egyptian history.
You said 3 hypotheses right now. As an expert, which one is more likely?
Entrance. But let me tell you that this is
that the more likely, or is that what you aspire for?
This is what
Wishful
I like.
thinking.
This is what I really dream of. If that is the entrance, then we are leading ourselves towards a passageway, and the passageway leading to a place, maybe a room, and this room will tell us
a new discovery.
And that a huge discovery, Titanic discovery. But this gigantic move in our history should be acquainted, should be, if you like, friends with tourism, with TVs, and educating. That's what I'm going to do in the coming few days in my lectures. I'm going to educate the Egyptians in my free entrance lectures in Opera House and all those places with the mission and everything. I need everybody from the universities to call me. I'll go to the university students. I will give for free all sorts of lectures to tell the people, why is this important? Let's take a look at the other one. This is important because not only that you can find the entrance or a room or even a vacancy that can be explained later, but we can use this very limit. What is he asking for, this expert now, this gentleman? I think he's French. He's asking for something very interesting. He says, I need a military airplane, probably a helicopter of some sort, and that's what he does. He explained this. He explained that what he does in France is this. And he will fly right over the pyramid using his devices, right? And I would ask him and Dr. Damati, not only to study the Great Pyramid, because they are studying Dashur and they are studying other pyramids as well, so good for them and good for us. But I would like him also to go around the Sphinx area, the plateau near the Sphinx area, the plateau that was never touched before. There could be amazing monuments in this place. how much percentage of the monuments that we discovered in the Great Pyramid Plateaus or in the Second Pyramid Plateau? Very little.
Yes.
So this is the chance of our life. It came right on time. Right on time touristically, right on time archaeologically, and this, at the end, will stop all the Zionists coming up every now and then, jumping like frogs on our heads, saying, well, if you did indeed build the pyramid, why didn't you know about the genuine entrance of it? So this will stop the Zionists asking and stealing the history, will put us back again on archaeological devices. I would need also Dr. Damati to invite. That's what he did actually. He said, I invite all the experts to come and make their put-ons on what, and their says on what is happening. This is good, because now we are going to release ourselves from the one-man decision that we suffered from in our monuments for a long time. And of course, you know who I'm talking about.
Yes. Right, but let me here come up with an important question. How can we as Egyptians right now at this very crucial timing, like you earlier just a few moments mentioned, make the best use or invest out of that moment?
I love this word. I love this word that you use now.
In the sense of promoting for our tourism and getting out of that dark tunnel we're going through for no reason, and also for economic reasons. I mean, how can we be able to promote for it and continue with ashes at the same time?
Two words that you mentioned I will take from. One is the investment, on how to invest on something that this is happening, even, by the way, even if there will be nothing behind those 3 blocks, even if that. I was in Athens and I bought a t-shirt, Athens Olympics. They didn't win the Olympics, they didn't win the bid, and they sold t-shirts like hotcakes. Right? Yeah. I'm not saying to do that.
Exploiting the situation.
I'm not saying to do that, but this is how you can exploit your situation. So, number one, you have to bring the Egyptians in groups and make them stand 10-15 meters away from the blocks and describe and explain daily with certain timings. Let's say from 10 to 12 every day in the morning. There will be a gentleman and a lady or something that they're going to talk in 4 or 5 languages, because not everybody going to the pyramids has got a guide with him, and tell the people about it. 1, 2, CD 30 piastres. 30 piastres. CD that will be given with the ticket to tell the people about it. So everybody coming back is an M for this. Everybody is coming back. Look, this is the most important picture for the coming time. All dears ministers of tourism, archaeology, everybody in this country should really concentrate. This is the result that made the world talk about us in the last 2 days.
The 3 thermal anomalies.
Exactly. The 3 blocks of stones in red that you see are the 3 different temperatures of 6 degrees Celsius more than the other around. So all the raw that you can see is more or less the same temperature. But those 3 blocks of stones telling us something. Cracks, it could be cracks. It could be fissures. It could be any of this. But on the other hand, being optimistic, it could be what I explained.
Hopefully the main entrance.
Hopefully. The main entrance. This will rewrite history. So, number one, as we said, the Egyptians need to know about this, because that will give more...
Even before foreigners.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, let the people learn about, if you enter into an experiment, there is a yes, and there is a no, and there is success, and there is failure. And failure is the first step to another success, if you like. Number one.
Indeed.
Number two, why don't you summarize the whole CD, send it to the big archaeological magazines around the world, before and step by step, every week.
This goes without saying. Haven't that happened until now?
Well, every week. You buy the Time, buy the Newsweek, buy, I don't know, Le Figaro, Le Point, I don't know who, Match, I don't know the Match, all those famous magazines. Put a CD in, 30 piastres. If you make 1 million, 2 million, this will make it go around. 3, come to visit Egypt. See the anomalies. This is a new marketing system of your tourism, which is the tourism of adventures.
I think this should be starting to be circulated from the moment we're speaking.
From this morning.
And topping the headlines everywhere.
This is the idea.
Because this is not a daily happening. I mean, something that doesn't happen every day.
Every week, you will give that CD. people will be like in an episode. There will be awaiting who shot JR, you know. People were awaiting. See how that was kind of marketed? Well, here, you can market
We can
this.
do the same thing, even better.
Even better. Of course, even better, because this is not only rewriting the Egyptian history, this is rewriting the history of engineering. Why? Because you are talking about 2.3 million blocks of stones in one building. If that number that I just mentioned is all dependent on 3 blocks of stones, how were they put? All sorts of groups, flocks of groups will come to Egypt from all sorts of organizations of architecture, engineering, bring all the people who are interested in buildings, skyscrapers of New York, the Eiffel Tower, all those guys come and discuss how 3 blocks of stones manage to rewrite the history of the pyramid. And you're talking four and a half, you're talking about the Great Pyramid of Khufu, 4,500 years ago. This is one big plus to Hem architect. So his statue in Germany can be brought back, placed right beside those 3. Or at least when you are doing the CD, use your Photoshop, and if the statue is not in Egypt, bring the photo of the statue, put it right beside it. This is the man responsible for this amazing anomaly.
Many useful ideas could be taken. Hopefully we could at least take half of them. Mr. Bassam Shammaa, the historian and the author of Egyptology, we're really very thankful to you, what you're doing for Egypt.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And dear viewers, a short break, and then we'll be back to resume the remaining segments of The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International. So stay tuned.